A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, just waiting.
It's lights out and away we go. It's a great start from Sebastian Vettel. We come up the inside. McLaughlin gets it to They run, but the Red Bull Racing man has got through. The champion's done the job. They're all gone. They're all gone. Tander's off. McLaughlin's off. Big Rube, Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt. There's another 7-time champ. Jimmy Johnson wins his 7th NASCAR Sprint Cup championship.
Marvellous to have you with us for round number 8 of the Supercars series on this Thursday night. My name's Stairs. Tonight I'm joined by Madbird. How are you, Madbird?
Here in Montreal, not a track usually done by the V8 Supercars, but a track that we are both quite familiar with, so looking forward to this one.
Absolutely, one of my favourite circuits personally. This one being selected in favour of Townsville, which didn't have a suitable option as a mod track available, and so we are running Montreal, which is a stock track in Automobilista, and that's as such it's going to have an interesting effect on the championship, being a bit of a power circuit, a bit wider and a bit longer than some of the tracks we visited in this series. Just quickly looking at the details, and that's out of date, beg my pardon, for the circuit. I'll just try and fix that up as I go, because I did do an update of it, and there it is. So Montreal, the track length 4.361 kilometres, 14 turns. Tonight we're going to go around for 33 laps, race distance of near enough 144 kilometres, and given some of the fuel numbers we've been hearing from the guys, that might make it a bit touch and go for a 1-stop, so 2 stops may well be an option, especially if we see a safety car or 2. With that being said, sorry to cut across you, I'll throw to Madbird for the point situation, with Lewis Wedding leading the championship. Madbird.
Absolutely. So Sugoi Kawai Desune, Lewis Wedding in first position, 90 points, with Brenton Hobson following right behind him on 85. Aaron Thompson not giving him much breathing room with 84 points. Will Devonish, best of the rest, in 4th at the moment with 66, followed by Baker. AMS's Baker, not on tonight by the looks of it. Then we've got Matt Williams, Scruff, El Chief down in 6th position with 62 points. 10 points down on him is Brock Harvey, the other El Capitan, 52 points. And Aiden Schultz, Cracker, and Dwayne Davies fill out the rest of our top 10 for the primary category. Then, of course, we've got the Super 2 results, which we've got Brenton Foley currently leading those ones. He's had a stellar run in that series, winning all races so far, I believe. Philip Boak, hot on his trail. And by hot, I mean, you know, moderately warm because he's not too close. But still, 2nd for Philip Boak. Rob Dunt 3rd. Cameron Rutledge 4th. Brenton Ross 5. David Keane in 6th. Brian Walsh 7th. Luke in 8th. Gary Neville in 8th as well, sorry. And
tied on points there.
Yes, tied on points, and Cameron in 10th. So some up and coming drivers who we've called their names out quite a bit in the combined category races, and probably will soon be in the primary category themselves, Des.
Certainly, but remaining in Pro-Am for this season, until the end of that season, they may be in a different ranking for other seasons that have taken or that have started after their promotions. But with that said, we're going to have a quick look at qualifying because it's underway already, and we've got about 8 minutes left, and the man at the top of the timesheets is a man we've not seen for many, many moons, Jake Maloney, who came into the Super Series in the Porsche when we visited Goiânia, and won both of those races, with Brenton Hobson coming 2nd. And it's a bit of deja vu because at the moment he's coming 2nd to Jake Maloney in the race for pole position by a mere 0.05 of a second. And as you mentioned, Brenton Foley earlier on, he is also doing well up there in 3rd place, which is first in class for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we've got Colin Warwick, who I believe is one of the faster ones. in 4th position. Well, I mean, obviously he's one of the fastest
he is,
in 4th position, but he's one of those aliens we hear so much about. And my waifu Lewis Wedding just getting pipped by Will Devonish for 5th position there. Cameron,
Cameron, what do you mean, Cameron Costa there? Or
that one, yes.
On the screen,
on your Philip Boker's jumped up. Sorry.
On your screen says All-Round, which I believe is short for All-Round Cameron, All-Round Cricketer or whatever it is. Cameron Costa, his real name. That's just the name. Oh, and Cracker having a huge moment down at Lapingle. But sorry, it's the... No, that is right, it is Lapingle, which is something that I learnt tonight. The name of the hairpin at Montreal is called Lapingle. We may well stick with turn 10.
The hairpin.
The hairpin, as Brenton Hobson goes down. The Casio Straight, a.k.a. Droit de Casino. But Brenton Hobson about to jump into another lap. And a bit of a leery moment, not using all of the circuit, on the exit of the final corner there. And he's got the lights ablaze. Not particularly happy with his livery, which has unfortunately, it's been all sorts of colours have gone everywhere with it, to use my terminology, which I shouldn't because it's wrong. Do you rescue me from this sentence, please?
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't look that bad for me.
No, it's not what it's supposed to look like, though.
3 people currently not having set times. We've got Brendan Ross, one of the Super Tour runners. We've got Corey Ott, who was a late entrant, I believe. And we have Emery, who I believe is a fairly well-known live streamer in the sim racing community. So welcome along.
Yes.
Not yet set a time, but I imagine with those sort of chops and with Ken's, fucking Kurt Sternberg's car underneath her, she should be doing some good times.
Yeah, for those not in the know, Emery is Emily Jones, and running Kurt Stenberg's livery by the looks of it. Got the Stenberg on the window there, and apparently was very, very close to not making it tonight. Was downloading Automobilista just mere moments before this broadcast began, and is on her second time lap. She's jumped into 10th with her first time lap, so considering this is her first laps in the game itself, it doesn't look like it's going to take her very long at all to get up to speed, but this would be her second time lap, and I'm just waiting to see what the time will be when she comes across to set a sector time, which will be on the approach to Lapingle, which is where she's going to now. We'll just call it a hairpin.
Yeah, good lord, can we please not call it Lapingle?
I think it's a great corner name.
Oh my goodness,
anyway,
it's about as good as calling the straights hairpins.
Inside jokes aside, the sector time, which we've been trying to... I don't think there is a sector time coming up on the screen, so I'm not sure why that is.
It's very positive. I was on board with her on a previous lap, and she went incredibly wide in the chicane. And
she might have track cut
down towards the hairpin, so yeah, possibly track cut. I'm just on board with Scruff here. He's fairly steady around his lap. Not going to be setting the world on fire.
All Emery into the wall of champions. So let's move, as you say.
That's something we're going to call a lot tonight.
I wonder how many champions will go into that wall. Well, so far, in AMS terms, we've got Hobson, the only champion in this particular server, because the other champions that we have are actually, I think, Luke, who has decided to join us with his surname, which is Joyner. Luke Joyner. I'm assuming that is the same Luke who won the Pro-Am Championship in the Super Series recently, so he's another champion we've got in this field. Other champions, Matt Devine, I don't believe I've seen his name in the sheets, no, so he's another man who isn't here. But let's talk about who is here. And Matt Williams is one, and so is Brock Harvey, who you're looking at.
20 runners currently for this, so this is going to be a
Jaden Draper
packed session.
Now, Jaden Draper, interestingly, did 3 laps of the Indy 500 on Sunday and blew his engine up after those 3 laps. So we'll watch him with interest to see whether he can be any kinder on his engine in a street circuit like this. He did pretty well in his in the road racing that we've seen him do. He's been up there pace-wise. And speaking of blown engines, as Draper goes back to the pits, all eyes will be on Brenton Hobson to see if he can make his engine last, because he has... it'll be in the back of his mind, Hobson, if not the front of his mind, that he's blown a few engines in this series and he's thrown away a lot of points, and he won't want to be doing that as he gets all sorts of issues with traffic at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just really, Lewis doesn't really, on pace, Lewis shouldn't be leading the championship, but he has just managed to hang in there and cheered up Sleepy Jean when he had to, and when Brenton has had issues or blown up his engines, as you say, he's done a couple of times, Lewis has been there to pick up the scraps. Even if those were only a few points, it's still points that Hobson wasn't getting, so or more points than Hobson was getting. So
another thing to
managed
know
to pull it out
about Lewis Wedding. Oh, as he has a huge tank stopper, and he nearly saved it, but he has gone into the wall there. Just didn't quite. It just had a secondary moment, and that was enough to send him into the wall. So not ideal for Lewis Wedding. Sitting there in 5th place at the moment. Lewis Wedding missed the first round of this championship in Adelaide, which Hobson won. So he's leading Hobson at the moment by 5 points, despite having started one race less than Hobbo.
Yeah, that is, and that does just show both how good Lewis is when he manages to get into a race, but also how poor Hobbo's luck has been to have a race up on his main competitor and still be coming off second best currently, as we've got only 50 seconds left in qualifying at the moment. So if someone is now already out on track, then they're not going to be setting any more hot laps.
Well, Jake Maloney, he's been the man of the moment. He's been absolutely on fire, the closest man to the 34s. But Hobbo, really, he's only done 4 laps, has Jake Maloney. Hobbo's done 10 and hasn't been able to improve, but he got within 5 thousandths of a second, which means that we're in for a pretty interesting showdown between those two. But Maloney, a man with a lot of pace. And shout out to Luke Joyner, who is obviously listening to our broadcast. He's said hello in the live chat, and I'm correct that it is the same Luke who won the Super Series. So good to see you using your surname here, and obviously congratulations on the Super Series championship win just recently. So obviously bigger and better things coming Luke Joyner's way. And hello to Scott Nolan, who we saw with his debut race in AMS Oz in the Aussie racing cars last week. Obviously back in the audience tonight. Jake Maloney, this one's just for pride, I think. He's setting another lap by the looks of it, but Hobbo doesn't seem to have an answer. He's coming across the line now, so we'll find out. And he has found a time. He has found, so half a tenth. Brenton Hobson leaps up into pole position. So does Jake Maloney have an answer at the death? And it looks like he does.
Yeah. Although he's gone incredibly deep at the hairpin.
He spun it! He spun it! That's it, Jake Maloney. You'll have to settle for second place, my friend, unless Brenton Foley is going to pull something out. But no, he's in the pits. And well done, Brenton Foley, the only man within a second of the pole time. Hobson not able to drop into the 34s, but he'll be happy to have grabbed a pole position with that one. Colin Warwick fourth.
Death of the session, good lord.
Well, that one fired up right at the end now, didn't it?
It did. I didn't even realise it was finishing until you called that. So well done for being on it, Stairs. I certainly wasn't. Hobson starting from pole position, and but he's not going to have too much room to breathe having Jake Maloney right alongside him.
No, he won't. Well, it gives us a bit of a chance for a break in a moment when they roll over into the warm-up session. And we're going to come back on the other side of this break with all the action from round 8 here in Canada.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, just waiting.
It's lights out and away we go. It's a great start from Sebastian Vettel. Wink up off the inside. They run, but the Red Bull Racing man has got through. The champions done the job. They're all gone. They're all gone. Tander's off. McLaughlin's off.
Make room. Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt. There's another 7-time champ.
Bienvenue back! We've got about 6 minutes left before racing begins. And Madbird, what are your predictions for the race moving forwards?
Jeez. From the previous 5 races, however many... Oh, as Luke Joyner spins out. The previous races I have commentated on, I have learned that nothing is certain. You can have someone seemingly in a completely clear and walk-away win, and they will manage to explode their engine or have some sort of horrible accident, or something terrible will befall them, like having a loved one that requires donuts. So it's very possible that the people at the top of the table won't be the ones at the top of the table at the end of the race, and that is all I'm going to predict.
So the best prediction is that it's unpredictable, which
exactly
I would tend to agree with. Looking at the results, we've not had a single person in this series so far win 2 races in a row. There's only one driver in the field who has won more than 1 race, and that man is Brenton Hobson, who won his 2nd race at Winton, but then DNF'd last week in Darwin. Still picked up points because because of the way the point system works here, but he picked up points for 11th, which is much less than he would have been hoping for. Lewis Wedding will be starting higher up than he did last week, so that bodes well for him. He seems to be a mark of consistency, having not finished worse than 6th. He has 3 podiums, 2 second places of victory, 2 fourth places. But yeah, every other winner, Hobbo started up the championship with a victory. Ethan Grigg joined us for 1 single race and won that one and then disappeared. Lewis Wedding then won in Tassie. Sam Dunstall came by and took a superb victory in Phillip Island when Brenton Hobson had his tyre non-changing issue in the pit stop. Aaron Thomas took another attritional race victory in Perth. Brenton Hobson won in Winton when we handed over the reins to Bagsy and Nether, and then last week Kurt Stenberg came in to win his first race with us.
Yeah, so it's been a mixed bag of results, and consistency is key, as it is in all racing. But it seems especially in this series, if you just keep it on the track and manage to pit stop your car correctly, then you're in line for a decent result.
Yes, well, interesting to see. I wonder if I don't know actually if I want to see a safety car in this race or if I don't, because from what the numbers we've been hearing are, some of the guys may be struggling to make it on one stop without a safety car.
Would make it interesting.
It would make it interesting. So it may well turn some of these guys towards doing a 2-stop. They may even commit to doing a 2-stop before the race even begins by underfueling at the beginning. And given the tyre wear, which is apparently much higher than we were expecting, they may well commit to that early, and then a safety car could be a bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card for them in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we may have been joined just before the race starts by our pole sitter, Brenton Hobson. Is Brenton about?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes,
we certainly can.
Yes, I'm glad we get patched into your helmet. What do you? Well done pulling it out of the hat at the end of qualifying there, mate, and hopping yourself over Jake Maloney. Well done.
Yeah, thanks. That was a big lap. It took a few goes to get it, but in the end we managed to rattle that one off. So I'm pretty happy with that.
It was pretty close. Like your first attempt was only 5,000s off. But then you found half a tenth at the end of the session. So tell us how you did it.
Yeah, it's just a hard track to consistently get it right every single time. I had, I think, 3 laps where I was green coming down the big back straight throughout that session, and would have gone to the top and just couldn't get that last chicane right. So I was starting to get frustrated because I knew I could do it, but that last lap, yeah, I just committed to it and sent it, hoped that I didn't get a cut track and got away with it. So yeah, I was happy to pull it off. I knew I could do it, but in saying that, I kind of expected Maloney to go quicker. He just kept lowering his times at the start of the session there. I don't know if he went back out or not, but I was just expecting him to lower it and demoralise me or something. But
well, I can tell you he was up by a couple of tenths and spun at the hairpin, so you might have got out of jail with that one.
I'll take him. Take them when you get them. I've got
Doesn't
lots of
matter
pole
how.
positions. It's a shame that doesn't win you a championship.
Yes, well, it certainly puts you in the best possible position to start the race, though, given moving forward. So, what's your strategy for the race? I mean, you've had these engine failures. Is that going to be in the back of your mind? Do you think you'll be trying to nurse it somewhat, given that the end of the race is more important than the start of the race, or is it just all-out attack and hope that it hangs in there?
I think we'll just see how we stack up for speed early on. I don't want to push too hard, but I didn't push hard at Darwin either, and it didn't really do me any favours. So we'll just see where we stack up. I think Jake will be really fast, so I'm not probably interested in racing him too hard too early on. I think that our pace will be good enough to run near the front, so we might just let it settle in and see maybe if we're in with the show at the end and can have a crack. But I don't think I want to push too hard here tonight. I don't want to risk a big blow up again. That'd be 3 out of the last 4 races, and I can't afford to have that for the points.
Enough's
so,
enough.
And Lewis Wedding starting from 5th place, so you got a bit of a buffer there for the start.
Yeah, you know, obviously the way these races pan out, it doesn't really matter where you start. It seems like the cream always rises to the top. I don't know if Aaron Thomas is here tonight, but if he is, he'll finish on the podium. So
we haven't seen him.
That's how it works.
So that may well bode well for you.
Yep.
Any last minute ideas about strategy from your point of view?
Go fast and win. That's the usual strategy.
Okay.
But we'll take it.
Specifically referring to pit stops, but keeping your cards
the
hard.
strategy is just go fast and win. I don't want to think too hard about it.
Righto. Well, we'll leave you to it as the session has expired, so we'll be rolling shortly over into the grid up process itself. Best of luck for the race, Hobbo, and we might catch you on the other side.
Thanks very much, guys. Have a good call.
Thank you.
What a nice chap.
What a nice young man. Certainly not the smug twat that Scruff referred to him as. I would say a nice young man.
Goodness, absolutely. He's a fine young cannibal.
So, what?
I do apologise. So, here we are, gridding up. We've got Brendan Hobson in pole position, lining up alongside Jake Maloney, so that's going to be interesting, isn't it?
It is. The one thing that I'm hoping that they've taken into consideration is the extra fuel required for a warm-up lap, and given that it is short by F1 standards at a little over 4 kilometres, but it's long compared to some of the V8 supercar venues we've gone to, which are sort of more commonly in the region of about 3 kilometres. So they use that little bit extra fuel on that on the warm-up lap just because it's longer. And well, let's have a bit of a quick look at the grid as they go around on the warm-up lap. Hobbo getting the jump on the warm-up lap by the looks of it. But he is your pole sitter. The new livery, unmistakable, the number 88 Synergy Sim Racing, Brenton Hobson. Jake Maloney in the Preston Hire car. He starts second. Team 18, we'll just call him Preston Hire. Obviously listening to us, flashing the lights. Good luck, Jake. Oh, and he goes off on the grass there, so we'll move on. Brenton Foley in the new PBF car. Now, he's one of 2 Red Bull cars with Foley with the black wing and Foley on the wing. And his teammate Boak will have the red wing, so that's a differentiator for us. Not near each other on track at the moment, so that's something. Colin Warwick with that black car, number 53 Ultima. Lewis Wedding starting in 5th place there in the magenta-coloured Loose Motorsport car with Logitech sponsoring. Obviously, he's given up on that other keyboard brand who I can't quite remember. Steel Series. Kurt Stenberg starting in P number 6, Trans-Tasman Racing. Corey Ott rejoining this series after a lengthy absence. He starts 7th, so not a bad return after his first victory in AMS last Monday. Cameron starts 8th in the Valvoline Nissan. Behind him will be Will Devonish, who has censored it looks like they're all listening to us, so interesting that they do that while they're should be busy worrying about their brake temperatures and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, good luck to Willip. Philip Oak, the second Red Bull car there, number 015, with the Autobahn sponsorship with the red banner on the wing and on the windscreen. Emery with her first race, starting in 11th place, so well done to getting up to speed so quickly. I'm sure there's more pace to come from her. Brock Harvey starting in 12th, another one who I think he set this trend of listening to our broadcast on the early part of the race. But anyway, better hurry up because we're running out of time. Cam Rutledge starts 13th. Cracker in the Hungry Jacks car 14th. Jaden Draper probably a little bit further back than we're used to seeing him there in 15th. Matt Williams in 16th. Big Dog in the Icebreak car, number 111. He starts 17th from Luke Joyner in 18th. Aussie 19th. And behind him, Brendan Ross in the 1999 Craig Lowndes car. And that rounds out your grid of 20. So a good, healthy grid. And look at Colin Warwick there pointing his car to the inside. He fancies a good start on Jake Maloney. He's just reversing back into his grid spot. Looks like he's
having a bit of
overshot it. Having a few issues.
No, I think you've overshot it again, Jake.
I think the game might have just reset some of them to their spot. No, there we go. Not lined up properly, but looks like he might be in place now. I don't know if we've got anyone else who's that. So different cars. Lewis is pointing to the inside as well. Different cars pointing to different parts of the track.
I really hope nobody was saving like tyre temperature and brake temperature over that warm-up lap.
No worries. Well, we're about to get started racing here in Canada for the very first time in the Supercars series, and it looks like a good start from Hobbo, but it's pretty much equal with Jake Maloney. Brenton Foley's got away well. Pretty much everyone's got a pretty equal start. Jake Maloney was trying to go up the outside of Brenton Hobson, who just gave him a little bit of a nudge, and he retains the lead. He leads from Jake Maloney, and behind Jake Maloney is Colin Warwick, who's got a better start. It's in the second phase of the start. It's Brenton Foley has lost positions, and he's been passed by Kurt Stenberg as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So shocking start there for Brenton Foley. Definitely not what he wanted. Had a couple of cars a bit further down the grid. Big Dog.
Lewis Wedding losing out too.
Yeah, absolutely. And Big Dog just lit up his rear tyres as he took off from the line and span it into the wall, basically. So Corey Ott
moving up. He's all over the back of Brenton Foley at the moment. He started in 7th, I believe, so he's up to 6th and looking to make that position already. And they're all just checking up a little bit there. It'll be interesting to see as they go into the hairpin. Oh, he's gonna be alongside into Lepingle, and but he's not gone for the inside, I should say. He's got a run though. And they're going to be, he's going to be squeezed a little bit coming in. Someone's locked up massively, and I think there was a bit of contact there. Just didn't quite see it off the camera, but Lewis Wedding looks like he's lost out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Just didn't get enough drive off of it, and has dropped back those couple of places. So Will Devonish is all over the back of this very terrifying pack of Emery, Lewis Wedding, and Cameron. Emery wisely, as it was, braking early, letting those two go up ahead of her through the Wall of Champions chicane. And further up, we've got Brenton holding position ahead of Jake. Looks like he's just checking Jake up a little bit, braking a little bit earlier than Jake would probably like him to be. And a little bit of a tank slap coming out of the second corner, but he's managed to hold on to it, although Jake has got an incredible run on him, but nowhere to go with it.
And Kurt Stenberg doing a good job there in 3rd place. He's actually being held up by the leading battle as well. But they're starting to gap Colin Warwick, who's got Brenton Foley, who's recovering from his bad start, all over the back of him. And Corey Ott he's just fallen off a couple of car lengths in the last few corners. But Cameron up into 7th after Lewis Wedding just really struggling in the early laps. I think someone might have gone into the grass there. I believe it might have been Corey Ott, because Lewis Wedding's about to lose another position here. Emily Jones coming up the inside of him, and Lewis Wedding is going to lose that position. He gives her the room. A bit of contact there, a little bit of biff and barge. I think it's all right. Or Emery's going to have the run down to the hairpin here. And Will Devonish has got a watching brief on this as well. And actually, Emily's got a bad exit out there. She's going to lose the place to Will Devonish as well. But no, she's got to get under the brakes there. Yeah, he was caught napping, was Will Devonish there. He had the job done and just went deep. And Emily did not need a second invitation. But now she's going to have the slipstream on Lewis Wedding.
Yeah, absolutely. Although it is terrifying getting the slipstream down this straight, as we would both know, Stairs, because there's just nowhere to go with it. It's do you pull out and try to go side by side into the Wall of Champions, and almost certainly cause an accident, as she does.
She's muscled her way past the sideways through the Wall of Champions, and Will Devonish having a look up the inside now. Lewis Wedding just with no pace at the moment, and Will Devonish is going. Oh, he's backed out of it, I think. He's going to have a look down the inside at turn 1. He's absolutely. He's thought better of it. So, discretion, the better part of valour on that occasion. Oh, Lewis Wedding's been at contact! Little bit of contact there, and how Lewis Wedding has kept it out of the fence, I don't know. Philip Boak wants in, and so does Brock Harvey. It's a massive battle pack here. Brenton Hobson still leads at the 100. Will Devonish is around. Will Devanish's spin. How did anyone not collect him? I do not know. That was marvellous.
That was just, I was going to say, I would feel that Lewis had a right to be aggrieved there with Will giving him quite a hefty bump on the exit of turn 2, but then Will just managed to lose it by himself.
Just got a wheel on the grass.
Degrees.
That's all it was.
And just lost it, and further up the field, the top three of Brenton Hobson, Jake Maloney and Kurt Stenberg are very quickly building an enormous gap to the runners behind.
Sorry, Emily's on a charge. She's already caught up to the back of Cameron Costa, who I don't know if he made a mistake or whether Emily's just got that much more pace, but they're both absolutely sideways out of the hairpin, and in no time at all she's caught that up, and the guys in front aren't that much further ahead. The battle there for third place with Colin Warwick. Sorry, that's not third, it's fourth, with Colin Warwick, Brenton Foley and Corey Otts a little bit further up, but Emily Jones up the inside of Cameron Costa, and she's got that job done. That's a little bit less harum-scarum than the last time around, but she's up to 7th already.
Absolutely, and I was watching Kurt Stenberg's onboard going through the wall of champions. He, Jake and Brenton are currently line astern, going around the entire track pretty much, and it was a terrifying and impressive thing to see these three cars going nose to tail, probably less than a metre between them, heading through that terrifying chicane at the best of times when you don't have any cars around you. So I'm in awe of these drivers currently. The
man in second place, Jake Maloney, has got a hell of a battle. He's trying to make the pass on the guy up ahead of him, but he's also trying not to be passed by the man behind him. And what are you looking at, Madbird? Because
sorry, Colin Warwick just had an incredible moment coming out of the sector 2 chicane. I have no idea what number corner that is.
Well, he's had to defend because Brenton Foley, I beg your pardon, first time I've made that mistake, and they've both gone deep at the second hairpin there, and that has allowed Corey Otts going.
What's happened to Hobson? Hobson is down in 6th place, and he is coasting very slowly. Please tell me he is not.
Oh my God! We're going to go back and watch a replay because I think the inevitable. It's so early in the race.
That is, I mean, if it was going into that, if it was going under the bridge, then that is a heavy braking zone. But still, it is not what you'd expect.
No. He wasn't even anywhere near the braking zone. It almost looks like he accidentally downshifted.
We've got Cracker and Cameron Rutledge have just had an enormous accident right in front of Brenton Hobbs, and he would have had a absolute front row seat to that horrible crash. So maybe go back and check out a replay.
Yeah, we're looking at a replay now because we've just seen we've seen Brenton Hobson. He's going to retire from this race. Oh, and we didn't see the start of it. It was Rutledge was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I think Cracker might have lost it on his own. We're going to go back and try and see that. Oh my God, it was all Hobbo. Cracker was completely unsighted with the cars in front. They were about 2 or 3 wide. Hobbo was going slow off the racing line, but the car's going too wide. Cracker all of a sudden found Hobbo going at no pace at all in front of him, and probably should have got out of the way there, but it was bad luck for Rutledge. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time as well. So we've had Cracker, Rutledge and Hobbo all DNF within about 30 seconds of one another.
As a result, we have a safety car.
Well, thank goodness, I need time to recover from that.
I was about to say, I need to take a breath and have a sip of my beer because we got Jake Maloney in the lead right behind the safety car. Kurt Stenberg trying to put him off as much as he can, flashing his headlights right into his rear windscreen like a very annoyed motorist. And Colin Warwick up into 3rd place now with Lewis, considering all of his dramas. Lewis Wedding. Wait, no. What's happened to Lewis Wedding? He's down in 12th place. Is he pit, perhaps, underneath the safety car?
Well, unfortunately, we don't have his stream to refer to, but look at where he is on track. I think he was losing positions as we were racing anyway, so his pace is just not there at the moment. So I'm expecting.
I did glance at the. So I did glance just as Brenton retired, and Lewis was only in 7th. So to have lost 5 positions, I'd say that he may have spun. But I do believe one of our valiant pit reporters has gone down and found Brenton Hobson, probably quite angry, and has stuck a microphone in his face. So, Brenton, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
What happened?
Apparently, a Windows update ruined my Logitech profiler, so all of my settings to adjust pit stop in the car didn't work, so I couldn't change tyres.
Oh,
So I was trying to figure out if I could override it with a button that would do the adjustment, and I don't even know what I've pressed, but it just killed the car.
Well, it sounded like you
my
downshifted.
ignition- I think the button put it back to neutral, so I clutched it.
Aha.
So back to first, so I clutched it before it blew up, but my button that I've got bound for the ignition, it must have stalled to start it again, is also on my shifter that wasn't registered. So I can't believe it. I'm gutted. I'm absolutely gutted. I don't even know anymore.
Well,
that's
yeah.
just,
I don't know if we can blame Automobilista for that or Windows, but nonetheless, it's a technical gremlin. It's not the driving. I mean, it looked very weird from the onboard. Just all of a sudden, the car revving very, very high. Like you mentioned, you were either in neutral or with the clutch down, and that's all it took. It was instant after that.
Yeah, it shut the car down, and I just couldn't restart it. I was always in trouble because I wasn't going to be able to do 30 laps on one set of tyres anyway, so I had no way of changing tyres in the pit stop.
Yeah.
The buttons weren't mapped, so I would have retired anyway, just probably 15 laps in instead of 3. But
that is an absolute, because you were leading that pack handsomely.
It's
Well,
robbed.
I wasn't
That's
really-
robbed us. To be fair, that top 3 battle was absolutely scintillating, and it was sort of already reminding us of the type of racing we saw in the first half of the Australian or the Aussie Supercars, the Aussie racing cars last week.
Yeah, I was looking forward to a really good race. I was very distracted. I don't know how I managed to hold on to the lead even there because I was alt-tabbing into Discord, and at one point I was pushing a button and my camera changed to someone else's car. I was driving around in the wrong car. It was all going wrong, but it's a real shame. It was going to be a lot of fun, and I'm disappointed it ended like that.
Well, commiserations to you, Hobbo, and we'll do what we can to wish you the best of luck in the future races. There's a long way left in this series, which is probably going to be enough time for you to figure out some of these gremlins, and we certainly hope that it changes for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I don't want to wish poorly on Lewis, but if he doesn't have a great race today,
Jesus.
the points might still be all right. But a DNF here hurts us pretty bad. So we'll see where we shake out next week, and yeah, we've still got a few rounds to go. So hopefully, before the year's out, we can actually get into a stride in this this series.
No worries.
Absolutely.
Well,
No one looks forward to it more than us.
Thank you very much for your time, Brenton. Gracious as always
Thanks very much,
for
guys.
joining us after such disappointment. Well,
I do apologise for interrupting with a shriek, but Jake
Oh, no.
Maloney was responding to a request in chat by the looks of it and giving us a bit of a wiggle, and he overtook the safety car and went wide on the hairpin, and the safety car nearly hit him. So I was just having horrible flashbacks to a Brazilian track.
Well,
and a different car, but we've got Jake Maloney.
the safety car's in, and Jake
It is.
Maloney controls the field. I don't know how experienced he is with safety car restarts, but he looks to be controlling it pretty well now, and I reckon they've been given the green, and they haven't. Oh, Philip Boak absolutely sideways out the final corner. The race was green before he got to the final corner, but Jake Maloney leads the way, followed by Kurt Stenberg, Colin Warrior in 3rd place, and Brenton Foley absolutely side by side into turn 2 with Coriott's in the grass. Coriott's in the grass, losing all sorts of positions down to 7th place. Didn't actually. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Emily up to 5th place there from 6th place, so she also inherited another position when Brenton Hobson went off. So after starting from, I believe, 11th place, the big mover, Will Devonish, another big mover, up 3 spots off the start. And Coriott's back to where he started, all sorts of out of shape is Coriott. It's not going to last, my friends. It's not going to last.
It isn't. We've got Coriott nearly took out Will Devonish. He got a tank slapper on, and as Brock Harvey and Cameron looks like come side to side going through the chicane, Lewis Wedding all over the back of them. So Lewis Wedding with Brenton Hobson, his chief rival for this race, out. Lewis can smell the points that he can gain. He has already got the lead.
Lewis Wedding's gone into the back. He's gone to the back of Brock Harvey. He's gone into the back of absolute disaster.
Up at the hairpin. We're talking over each other.
We certainly are, but yeah, no, that was triggered with Lewis Wedding going into the back of Brenton Hobson, which was an innocuous event in the end. Brock Harvey wasn't going to lose it, but he went into the back of Cameron, who then did lose it, and he's the big He's the big. He's the man most disadvantaged by that accident.
Looks like he's got some serious damage as he was braking to go into there.
Someone's in the pit lane, I believe.
It is Brock Harvey. As he was slamming on the brakes to go into the pits, that front left just stopped turning. So I imagine he's got some, and he is locking up going into his pit box even. So I imagine he's got some serious body damage on that car.
Well, Brandon Hobson may well be watching this broadcast with his hands rubbing together with glee, because Lewis Wedding, although he's made up 2 positions up into 9th, he may well have a penalty hanging over his head, because he was the trigger of that accident, and it looked like it's ruined 2 different people's races, with Brock Harvey in the pits and Cameron. Where is Cameron? He's actually back up to 12.
We've got Emery in 4th, just overtaking Colin Warwick for 3rd place. Incredible run through the middle sector there from Emery, down into the 2nd of the middle sector chicanes. I don't know what these turn numbers are, but she's done an incredible job.
Colin Warwick's dropped it! Colin Warwick has somehow managed to pick it up again. How did he keep it out of the wall there? Let's find a replay.
Brenton was saying that during practice the tyres were wearing. Luke Joyner gets drive-through penalty for, not sure what that was for, but Brenton Hobson was saying that the tyre wear was much higher than he was expecting, and I believe you said it during warm-up as well. It is seeming like these cars are just falling to pieces on the track. People are not being able to keep it in one in a line going around a corner or down a straight even. So it's shaping up to be an interesting race.
You say that, but Jake Maloney on the previous occasion set his fastest lap of the race, so that was a 36.7, which was, well, it's, having said that, about nearly 2 seconds away from the type of qualifying times we saw from him. He's done a 36 flat now, my goodness, that's 7/10 faster than the lap before, so Jake Maloney's stretching his legs at the moment, with Kurt Stenberg dropping back a little bit.
So Brendan Foley up alongside Colin going down towards the 3rd turn. He's going to have this job done, I reckon, unless he gives it up, and it looks like he has. Probably a wise decision, although Colin is all over the place. It looks like he might have... It might even be that Colin's just torn his tyres to pieces trying to keep up with Stenberg and Maloney in the early stages.
Oh, I think if you follow your weight, don't you? Because Warwick has eaten his tyres like a enthusiastic Japanese person with his yakisoba, but those are... There's very little tread left on. Will Devonish is hanging in there as well. I think it's only a matter of a time here. And Colin Warwick goes off the track now. This is interesting. Will Bretton Foley go through? I think he will. And if he didn't, then he'd probably be a bit miffed that Warwick shortcut the track. But he's got to be careful. Will doesn't let Will Devonish through. And Bretton Foley goes needlessly defensive on the inside, all over the marbles, and he's not going to get it stopped. He gets better drive though than Colin Warwick. Oh, he's hit the grass! He's hit the grass. That's arrested all the momentum he had. But he's still ahead. But unfortunately for him, Warwick is in his slipstream.
Further down, Matt Williams' scruff has spun out of, it looked like, 11th place. He is now running 13th and almost about to be overtaken by Brock Harvey.
Warwick making the position back up on Bretton Foley. So Bretton Foley making hard work of this overtake. One would think that it won't be long, but I've said that before, and I've been wrong before. I'm going to keep an eye on Emily's time. She's doing 37.1, so she's catching Kurt Stenberg by about 2 or 3 tenths of a second at the moment. Will Devonish having a bit of a look on the inside of Brenton Foley. Brenton Foley, the meat and the sandwich again.
Meanwhile, we have missed Aussie and Corey Ott both retiring from the race. Corey Ott did go into the pits, I saw, came back out in 14th position, and then just seemed to not have any feel for it. Was just sliding all over the place, hitting walls left, right and centre, so possibly did a bit too much damage or just a bit of frustration perhaps.
Well, he was hanging it out like an Italian mother putting her washing out, but it was all over. He must have hit the wall somewhere. Yeah,
absolutely, as Brenton Foley is all over the back of Colin Warwick. Just seems to have so much more pace.
Warwick's just glanced the wall there.
Yeah.
So this was the corner they're coming up to that it all sort of went off last time. Brenton Foley had the job done, but then just went deep after getting in on the marbles. Will Devonish with the... Will Devonish has just been clouted by Warwick. I don't know whose fault that is.
He's lost his rear wing. Will Devonish has lost his rear wing.
Will he know that? Will he know it?
I don't think he does.
Let's have a look on board with Will Devonish. And he came in very, very late there, but tried to cut up the inside. And I don't think Colin Warwick would have known he was there. I don't know if I can place blame on Warwick for that. But Will Devonish was maybe getting a little bit greedy.
He's going into the pits.
He would have to. He's got no rear wing, and very slowly into the pits as well. So hopefully they can repair that car and he can get out without losing a lap. Thankfully it is a longer lap, so there is a chance of that. But I think that one may well be put down to a racing incident.
Yeah, that didn't. I don't know. Brendan Foley's gone off. Brendan Foley is off on the grass and has lost time to Colin Warwick. Lewis Wedding approaching him at a pace, so rubbing his hands together. Yeah, I don't. From what I could see of it, Stairs, I don't think that Colin Warwick could have really known that he was there. He was still trying to come around the corner. Will Devonish tucked up. He got an incredibly tight turn in. I couldn't believe he got it stopped in time. And yeah, I think you have to chalk that one up to a racing incident.
Well, just went back and saw what happened to Brendan Foley. He lost it at the first chicane, but kept it out of the wall. And a good effort to do that, because it means that he can fight for another day. And he's basically just lost time. But will he catch up to Colin Warwick? He was the man who... He seemed to have much more pace than him. Given... Well, let's see. Their best laps, a 38.4 from Warwick and a 37.5 for Foley. So the thick end of a second a lap faster on his best lap. But Colin Warwick... Well, Colin Warwick looks like he's shortcut on the previous time around. So we don't have a recent... comparison for them.
Yeah, and I mean, it absolutely. He did. Colin Warwick's gone into the pits, so that releases Brendan Foley with Lewis Wedding right behind him. So,
well, he's committed. He's committed to a two-stop.
He would be a little bit scared having the unstoppable Lewis behind him. But I imagine he will be doing some good lap times. I don't know if we can hope that they will catch up to Emery at the pace that she's setting. She's within a second of Kurt Stenberg now. Cameron
in the pits as well. I don't know if that was planned. It looked like he went into the pits much faster than Colin Warwick did. But if this is a planned pit stop, they're dividing the race exactly in thirds. At the 11th, with the 11th lap, it looks like a long stop. Colin Warwick has retired from the race, so that was unexpected. So Brendan Foley back up into 4th place by default. And
it looks as if Lewis's it looks as if the Logitech as he overshoots that middle chicane and wisely brakes a little bit, doesn't gain an advantage.
Draper with a drive-through.
What was that for? Do we know what that one was for?
I would expect it's for speeding in the pit lane. It's the only thing I can suggest. Kurt Stenberg has fallen back into the clutches of Emery now, so they're line astern on track. The two teammates, incidentally, driving the same car, because it doesn't appear as though we have a livery for Emily yet. And so that will make it a little bit difficult to tell who's who, because they both drive the same car. But and I've lost my live timing, so unfortunately I can't tell you what the comparative times are. But before it went down, she was lapping about 3 or 4 tenths of a lap faster than Stenny.
Yeah, she did. I saw that she did a lap that was 8 tenths of a lap faster than Kurt. So that would have helped quite a lot with catching up. I must say, Stairs, we're on lap 13 of 33. We have lost 8 cars so far from this race. It is a high rate of attrition.
It is a high rate of attrition. Lewis Wedding back up into 5th place will be loving the fact that it's a high rate of attrition, because it's meant that he's able to recover all these positions. He started from 5th, he fell back at one stage to 11th or 12th, and now he's back up to 5th. But with a cloud hanging over his head with the Brock Harvey and Cameron Costa incident.
I didn't go too much on it. It was a bit of a hefty tap, but it wasn't. I don't think it would have. Oh, speaking of hefty taps, we've got Philip Boak right behind Lewis Wedding, nearly giving him one. So where's he come from? He snuck up. Next down the line is Jaden Draper. A good. Oh, my timing doesn't seem to be working. I reckon Philboak is
mine's back up. So let me just rearrange it so it's not a white screen. But yeah, Jake Maloney has set another fastest lap. He's still doing 35.5s on his original set of tyres. Oh no, beg your pardon. No, he's not. But his last sector was purple, so he does still have pace, if not over all of the lap, over some of the lap. And Emily takes Well, she actually lost time on that occasion to... Beg your pardon, she didn't. She gained 200ths of a second on Kurt Stenberg. Philip Boak is really giving Lewis Wedding a fair bit of trouble. I don't know if Lewis Wedding will be aware of this, but this is not a fight for class position because Philip Boak is in Super 2, and he's fighting... His main rival is Brenton Foley, who's also in Super 2. So in class, Lewis Wedding is 4th. And he won't lose at that 4th if Philip Boak gets past him.
Absolutely, but I mean, does that really matter when you're in the cockpit stairs? If you see another car coming up behind you, are you going to just pull over and let him go? Oh, as Kurt Stenberg has had a huge lock-up going into the chicane. Emery right on the back of him now, so I reckon she's going to have a good run on him down into the hairpin. It's going to be interesting to see. She's going for the inside, the looks of it. She's committed to it. She's braking. Looks like she's going to get it pulled up alongside.
On the marbles.
She does. Oh, slight tap.
Oh, a little bit of a bingle at Le Pingle, but she's through. And Kurt Stenberg saw it coming. And Emily, well, they're side by side. The job's not done. I can't remember which one's which. Stenny's on the outside. Emily's on the inside. And they're going to go into the Wall of Champions absolutely side by side. And
end well,
formation
surely.
flying for the Apex guys. And Emily sensibly backing out of that one as Jake Maloney sets the fastest lap of the race. Well, that time he did set the fastest lap of the race. So he's on a pace of mid-35 somehow after 14 laps on these tyres. I don't know how it's possible.
I don't understand how it's possible either. Kurt taking some very compromised lines through the first couple of corners of the circuit. Oh, as Emery looks like she got on some marbles and just lost a little bit of traction at the rear there. Span the car slightly, but managed to recover it. I believe we might have former podium sitter, or well,
he was in the podium contention.
He was in 3rd place. Yes, Colin Warwick. We've gotten a hold of him in the pits. Colin, are you with us? No, would be.
Oh, he was. Oh, there he is. Colin, we've got you on the line there. Colin, what happened, mate?
Oh, just pushed on hard tyres, mate. Had the wrong tyres on.
Oh, so you were doing those times on hard tyres?
Yes, correct.
Well, that's a surprise. Well, so did you hit the wall? Was there damage? Is that why you had to retire?
Nah, blew an engine coming down the back of the straight. Just shifted down too quickly.
Oh my mistake. Wow, so another engine failure. We didn't actually catch that, so on the broadcast we saw you coming into the pits, but we didn't know that was the reason.
Yeah, I tried to pits to see if it would fix the engine, but it didn't do it, obviously.
Oh, that's unfortunate, because it was looking like a good battle there you were having with Brenton Foley. He looked like he might have had the pace on you, but he just couldn't get the job done, and you kept getting back past him. Yeah,
no, it was good fun, good battle. Enjoyed that.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, no longer a battle that we have the benefit of watching, but commiserations. It was a good race while it lasted, and thank you very much for your time afterwards. We wish you the best of luck in the next race.
Thanks, boys.
Cheers. Well,
he was setting those times on hard tyres.
I mean, Christ, the times that he would have been doing on soft tyres, that's...
What was his best? His best lap was a 1:38.46. I couldn't get down my driveway on hard tyres in that amount of time. So that's an incredible effort. And to be hanging with the up in the podium contention on those tyres, Jesus Christ! I just oh my goodness.
I mean, I don't think a small amount of goat excrement would be equal to the value of those tyres, but nonetheless...
Specifically a small amount.
Well, you know, a pinch.
Will Devonish is in last and a lap down, so I'm assuming he's pit, because he was up towards the front, wasn't he?
Oh, Brock Harvey's gone wide at the exit of 2, and that has allowed Cameron up the inside into the chicane, and there they go. Brock Harvey losing that position. You're looking at the Lewis Wedding victims here, and back down 9th and 10th. An amazing, well, I'd say an amazing recovery, but there's actually only 12 cars left in the race, so there's good points on offer here as Jaden Draper gets a drive-through penalty.
I believe that was for track cutting, by the looks of it, because it popped up just as he was coming off of the runoff in the chicane in the middle sector. So potentially has run his course of track cuts.
Well, that's going to cost him position to Cameron and Harvey. because they're only about 16 seconds behind him. There's battles all up and down the track. This is Big Dog and Luke Joyner, who are in a tensely fought battle over 9th and 10th, and I believe, 10th and 11th. And since they're in the Super 2 category, there's a lot more than that in terms of points on the table, just looking down. So the Super 2 runners still in the race are Brenton Foley, Philip Boak, and then I think you have to go to Cameron for the next one, followed by, so Big Dog, that would be, I think, 4th or 5th.
Sorry, Jaden Draper has come in to do a pit stop. He stopped his car, which I hope this was a planned pit stop. I hope he hasn't done this accidentally thinking that he was serving his drive-through, because he is going to have to go through the pits again to serve his drive-through penalty, since he's taken service.
You know, it hasn't cleared. Obviously, you can see on your screen there. I just pointed to it and realised that you can't see that. But anyway, there is a just above the 10.
Jake Maloney in the pits. Sorry.
Race leader in the pits. Well, we have to rejoin. We have to talk about that later, because our race leader is in the pits after 17 laps. So he's made the fuel last. We're probably expecting to see many others in the pits now.
Emery and Kurt Stenberg following each other into the pits. Kurt slamming on the brakes and locking up. Hopefully he didn't speed.
Now this will be interesting, because it's Emily's first and Jake Maloney out. Very quick stop for him. So this is the first time that Emily has done automobilista pit stops. So we saw that it was something that caught out Brenton Hobson as we got Foley. And away almost in tandem. Unbelievable. So obviously Kurt Stenberg has educated his teammate about how to do it all, and they've come out with the exact same result. And battle will resume. So this one's not going to be decided by strategy. And we look towards... There's no one else in the pits. There's Brenton Foley still in the pits. So no one else pit on that lap. With the safety car period, they can all go a little bit further on their fuel strategies if they wish to. Which means it should be an easy one stop. But not for the people who pit on like lap 11. Lap 11.
No,
like Cameron.
Indeed. You're right. They got a frog in your throat. As I was mentioning, that there were 8 people out of the race so far. Matt Williams is one of them. Not sure what that was for. I imagine it was just due to his. He did have that horrible spin, I think I mentioned, and was going to drop back to last place. So potentially just cracked it. Not sure if Scruff's around to have a word with us, but
no, he's not here.
Another of our 8 DNFs so far.
Oh, and another drive-through for Jaden Draper.
Oh my goodness.
So he must have got that. Well, actually, the thing is, he might have got it for another track. He might have got it while serving.
He's retired. He has gone back to the pits.
He's had enough of that.
Retired, so he has had enough of that. By the looks of it, so that is that's disappointing. He was in line for a good result, up in 7th or 8th position. And
we're not going to see Lewis Wedding in on this occasion. He's going around for another time, as is Philip Boak. So these guys haven't stopped yet, and that's why they're up in 2nd and 3rd place. But
Will Devonish off! Looks like Luke Joyner possibly gave him a good punt. Can you get a replay of that?
We most certainly can. We're going to have a look at that. And we're going to go on board. It was coming out of the pit lane, and Will Devonish was on the inside, and it wasn't there. It must have been at the first chicane. And Luke Joyner into the back of him, straight after pitting, and Will Devonish will surely be retiring with that damage. That is a huge punt, and Luke Joyner may well have a trip to the stewards. So this is a controversial race from the point of view of the incidents we've seen so far, and that means we're down to 10, and he's got a drive-through penalty. So I don't know if that's probably unrelated to that, because the game doesn't hand out penalties for racing indiscretions, I beg your pardon. But Will Devonish, the latest retirement from a long line of retirements in this race, half of the people who started this race are out.
Absolutely. We did say, Stairs, we had to predict the unpredictable, and so far this race has been anything but predictable, other than the fact that Jake Maloney has been up towards the front the entire time. But I don't think either of us expected Lewis Wedding to be currently 2nd. Well,
Emily and Kurt Stenberg are absolutely changing positions here. I can't remember which one's which. It's Emily in the still trailing her teammate Kurt Stenberg, but they were side by side through the hairpin, and this is a battle that looks like it's set to rage on for some time.
Absolutely. So they that will be very interesting to watch throughout the rest of the race. I believe El Chief Scruff has joined us. Scruffy, what happened, mate? What happened to your race?
Well, it very quickly went from bad in qualifying to worse in the race, then worse as the race went on, and I thought, I can't be bothered with this.
Fair enough. That seems fair and succinct. So thanks for that, Scruff. We appreciate the reasoning and the feedback.
I appreciate your time.
I appreciate your time, as Kurt is out of shape getting on the grass, but Emery not managing to capitalise, although she is so close.
A little bit further back than she has been in recent times, but it only takes us the slightest mistake. But neither of them have been showing any likelihood of doing so, and in their travels they have been closing in on the guys ahead who have not yet come into the pits. Those gentlemen being Lewis Wedding and Philip Boak, so they're currently sort of mid-37 range. Stenny and Emery both in the mid-36 range.
Yeah, absolutely. So at the moment, Jake is looking like he's going to be a walk-away win at this stage, with these two squabbling behind him. The rest of the field, less certain. So is Lewis going to be hitting? No, he isn't. He's going around again. So
and so is Philip Boak. Philip Boak has continued around. So 20 laps. That is remarkable. So they're going to have much fresher tyres at the end of the race, and if there is a safety car, as Kurt Stenberg goes wide on the exit of the final corner, and it's side by side. Oh, Emily slushes back in front, and Luke Joyner has another penalty. I don't know how that is physically possible. Emily has got by Kurt Stenberg, and Kurt Stenberg, with the dent in that Apex car, relegated down to 5th place, which will be a net 3rd once the guys in front pit.
Yeah, absolutely. Joyner pulling over out of the way.
Oh! Huge hits. It's all right. She's okay. But Emily just had a mother of moments out of the first chicane and held it together. She probably would say it's all in a day's work, but she's lost a few car lengths to Kurt Stenberg in that moment. And they're coming up on Luke Joyner, who's being lapped, as Emily sticks a tyre in the grass just to give me another heart attack and reduce the length of my life.
I imagine she's not doing that on purpose.
I don't know.
Joyner wisely getting out of the way of this battle, as we've got Philip Boak up ahead. So he's within sight of these two now. So when he pits, he's definitely going to be coming out at least behind them. How long's a pit stop at Montreal for these cars, Says? Do we have any idea? Like 20 seconds, or what are we looking at?
That could be right, or it couldn't possibly. It could also be wrong.
Excellent. So regardless, I imagine Lewis Wedding and Philip Boak probably not going to be coming out anywhere above. As Lewis Wedding pits,
Lewis pits and
Lewis pits.
Philip Boak has gone around again.
See how long the pit stop is.
Well, you better stop the start watch, because Lewis Wedding is coming in.
Stop the start watch.
Philip Boak, it's a Murrayism. It was deliberate. So the timer was on 36:56 when Lewis Wedding entered the pits. So you can do your own mathematics when you and we got Luke Joyner in as well to serve one of many.
10 seconds
short
for
stop.
Lewis Wedding. Can't be right. Surely
no, we
not.
saw he did a short stop in Hidden Valley, so we know it's something that's possible. Unfortunately we can't see what he's changed, because I don't believe he's been streaming tonight. But and Emily, I think she might be. I say every time I think she's starting to gap Kurt Stenberg closes in a few car lengths. But that could just be the natural ebbs and flows of two drivers, or me fundamentally misunderstanding how the accordion effect works. But nonetheless,
it's 50-50. Let's be honest.
A little bit, and both go wide at the second chicane. So they've absolutely pushed their tyres to the limit. Emily flashing her lights. I wonder what that's about. Don't know what that's about. Anyway. Philip Boak about to come into the pits. Oh! Those tyres have had it. Those tyres are gone.
He's driving on axles all the way down to his pit box.
Yeah. Greatest moment in my commentary career, that one. But Jake Maloney sets another fastest lap. He's into the 35.4s. Philip Boak will be hoping he's got it to... Oh, a bit of a lock-up. I hope he got it down to the pit lane speed limit there. Philip broke in. Let's compare his pit stop to that of Lewis Wedding's. Lewis Wedding had a quick stop, so he'll be doing well to have a quicker one. So he stops on his marks at 38.37. And the counter time's down. And continues to do so.
Was that one intentional?
Counter time's up, maybe.
The counter time's down.
It was about
Lewis and Brendan Foley.
13 seconds for Philip Boak.
So Brendan Foley.
Lewis Wedding jumping Brendan Foley in that.
Looks like, yeah.
What a great job for Lewis Wedding. He's got the overcut, so Brendan Foley was probably feeling a bit comfortable, and I don't know, maybe he didn't push as much as he should have when Lewis Wedding was on the younger tyres, on the older tyres I should say. But now Lewis Wedding's come out in front of him with newer tyres.
Yeah, and Brock Harvey in the pits, and Big Dog getting out of the way again wisely.
So Brock Harvey with his two-stop strategy, and Lewis Wedding very wide there, but nothing doing. And he's starting to gap Brendan Foley just ever so slightly on this lap. So we'll head back to the apex battle because it's been scintillating. And Emily in her first race with us in second place from starting in 11th. What an interesting event this has become. Absolutely,
it is. Yeah, Kurt got an immense drive on her into the hairpin, but just couldn't go anywhere with it. She sat on the apex, quite ironically considering their liveries, perfectly apex rear wing, of course, and he had nowhere to go with it going into the hairpin, so he has been relegated to behind her still. But he is. It's almost like it's like we've got a driver in our chat who we know well called Sam Smith who she's gone off but managed to park it right in front of his nose, nowhere to go. As I was saying, driver we know quite well, Sam Smith, in the chat at the moment.
Shout out to Sam.
Shout out to Sam. Drives a lot faster when he's got a carrot being dangled. Perhaps it's the same with these two. Emery was in front. Kurt was in front, so Emery was gaining on him, and now Emery's in front.
And Emily's gone wide, but she's got the inside into the next corner, and she has got Kurt Stenberg coming around the outside at a much faster speed, but she's going to have the advantage into the next corner. If Kurt Stenberg can somehow carry more speed around the outside, then he'll have the inside for the next corner, but I don't think that's going to be the case. But she's gone wide. They've gone side-by-side contact there. Hopefully no steering damage for Kurt Stenberg, but she's got the inside down to the hairpin.
Absolutely. Oh my god, I don't know what's going to happen. Emery breaks early.
A little bit of grass.
Goes deep. He goes across. He's going to go deep, but he might get a better run out.
He's on the marbles there. It's an absolute drag race.
He's got a better run.
Kurt Stenberg's got the better drive. And we've finally silenced each other so that the other one can talk, and then the other one doesn't talk. And nonetheless, it is Kurt Stenberg who emerges in the lead, moving back to fourth, trying to break the toe, and Emily in third, and she's up the inside. She's going to get the position back, changing positions like something that changes positions a lot.
Going back and forth like a tennis match. Emery takes the position back. This is going to be the battle to watch for the remaining 9 laps of the race. Good heavens, I cannot. My face is so red right now from just trying to understand what I was watching.
Somehow they get it stopped. They put wheels in the grass, it doesn't matter. They put wheels in the marbles, it doesn't matter. The battle goes on, but Kurt Stenberg's lost out of that one. Emily Jones quite firmly in second place now by some number of car lengths.
Although that has evaporated going into that corner, Kurt is caught back up with it. It looks like Emily was quite ginger under braking there. Kurt all over her rear wing. And this is where
having a look up the inside, a late move. Emily, I don't know if she saw him coming, goes deep onto the grass, and Kurt Stenberg's through.
Absolutely, Jesus. That was exactly where he caught her out last lap. Managed to get up alongside, so. Perhaps he's twigged that's the point where she goes a little bit wide on the corner entry. There's a chance for him to dive up the inside, and he's managed to get it done. But as we were saying, if they are indeed those sort of races, those bunny rabbits, I'm going to call them, that chase a carrot, then Emily is going to be hopping like mad after Kurt Stenberg, and I can't imagine he's going to be feeling comfortable in that second place.
Well, it's all new for Emily. She races with iRacing, but there's a different feel with Automobilista, and it's a bit of an excursion in knowledge, this one, trying to figure out what the tyres can do at a certain length at a certain amount of age, as Kurt Stenberg takes an interestingly shallow entrance into that final corner, and that has allowed Emily Jones to get a much better run. She's carried so much more speed, and a little bit of a Lewis Wedding line there, nearly Lewis Hamilton line there, nearly going into the side of her teammate there, and driving around the outside of turn 1 as we've got, who's that coming out of the pits? Is that the leader? Jake Maloney. Jake Maloney has taken a second pit stop down into 3rd place, so this is now the battle for the lead.
Oh my goodness, that actually might be quite wise. They would have been losing a lot of time behind him, battling each other. He's now got fresh tyres. He can very possibly overtake them and then cruise in for the rest of the win. But of course, first he has to overtake them. And as we've been watching these two battle, and Emery with an amazing run down, and might going to have the inside. Looks like she's going to have the inside.
Can they get it stopped?
She does get it, but Kurt managed to get a better exit out of there. Too much curb for Emery. This is not going to be the easiest pair for Jake to overtake. So I wonder if that was a necessary pit stop, or if he thought he had a free pit stop in hand. Not sure what happened.
Do you think he forgot to change tyres? Do you reckon
possibly.
To be honest, I wasn't looking at his times after he came out of the pit lane, and I said he was doing 38s, which was not his kind of pace. So maybe he didn't change his tyres by accident, and now he's gone back and done that, and had such an advantage they were still able to do that and come out only just behind them. As Emily looks to the inside at the World of Champions.
She's not a little bit of stopped.
No, she's managed to sort of use her teammate there, and it's probably all good. Oh my goodness, Jake Maloney's going to drive around the outside of him. He's flashing his lights like he's lapping them, but he's not. This is 4th position, but he's going to get 2 positions, and they go 3 wide down to turn 1. And has Emily seen Jake Maloney coming? Yes, she goes down onto the marbles, and it's 3 wide. There's contact at turn 2. It's Biff, Barge, and oh my goodness. I couldn't think of a third one.
This is literally the best commentary call I've ever heard you make in our
lives.
Oh,
Maloney down to 3rd there with Stenberg going through into 2nd place.
That was obviously, that was unequivocally a dive, but hell, it came off and he managed to do it cleanly. So I mean, more power to him. But Jake is not going to let him have it. Jake is going to come back at him on. I imagine before this lap is out, manages to pull out there. Does Kurt Emery now up into lead, which I wouldn't have expected going into that first corner, because good Lord in heaven, that was a hairy couple of laps.
Madbird, I like it. I like myself a little bit of an underdog story, and coming in and winning your first race from 11th place would be a hell of a story, but it's David and Goliath right now with Jake Maloney is Goliath, and the 2 Apex cars are the little Davids at the moment. But do you reckon Kurt Stenberg may do a job for his teammate here and try and slow Maloney up while Emily makes a little bit of a break for it? There's only 5 laps remaining, but Emily trying to break the toes, so she's obviously not comfortable even with that kind of gap coming out of the hairpin.
I don't know how friendly they are as teammates.
I don't know about that kind of weaving.
I don't know if this is a Lewis and Nico kind of relationship where they'd as soon cut each other's face off than help the other out in a battle, but. I imagine that Luke Johnner getting another. Oh, that's not been a good race for him.
It's going to be a record.
Jake Maloney, I imagine, won't be getting past Kurt Stenberg through any act of charity.
Oh, and they're side by side because Emily has gotten a little bit wide into turn 1. Oh, and Stenberg's lost it and into the wall. No. So that is disappointment for Stenberg, and now Emily's all by herself and has Jake Maloney to contend with. And that is a scary prospect with the man on much fresher tyres.
It is, and you could just see going through that first corner, Kurt and Emery were just, that you could see their wheels jittering all over the place, searching for the grip that they just couldn't find. And meanwhile, Jake is basically just skating through and just picking the line that he wants and taking it. Doesn't have any issue. Just those tires are so much fresher, so much more grip, so much more rubber on them. They just are just gripping like nothing else. And I can't imagine. I mean, I hope. But I don't see Emery.
Their times are 4 laps off the kind of pace, or 3 or 4 seconds off the kind of pace they were setting earlier on in the race. I feel like they haven't changed their tyres. They must be so close to puncturing them at this point.
They must have changed their tyres, surely. Like they just.
But let's look at it last. I mean, yes, I know they're battling each other, but Emily last time out a 38.9. Excuse me. Her best lap a 36.3. Jake Maloney 39.3. His best lap of 35.2. I mean,
This is a good. They are no, but they are in battle. Like, they are amongst other cars. Like they haven't. I don't think any of these cars has had. As Jake gets a better run off the wall of champions. He's flashing his lights.
Easy
He's
done.
gonna have the inside down into the first corner. You would expect. Oh no, he backs out.
well, if he's got new tyres, surely that would be an easy job. Like he would outbrake her by something in the area of 50 meters. But
You do raise I mean, you do raise a good point, but but they haven't had clear track to do decent laps in.
But
At other points in this,
Maloney
sorry,
had a decent run that time and couldn't outbrake Emily. Unless Emily is just, on that occasion, or she's been going deep into turn 1, so she's been doing it fairly on the limit in terms of her braking. But I don't know, I just feel like given the pace that Maloney has shown all throughout this race, that he would, of all people, would be able to get this job done without...
gobble it up, yeah.
without no problem at all. And
well,
no
if
disrespect to
Jake-
Emily or Stenberg, but who's
Absolutely.
now falling back into the clutches of Lewis Wedding.
I will mention just quickly, if Jake is listening to us, Scruff has just mentioned in the chat that headlights are banned unless you are overlapping. Lapping a car that is more than a lap down. So I would advise turning them off, friendly fella, just so you don't get a slap on the wrist by El Chief after the race. Yeah, as he's got a much better run down the back straight.
Ducking back in. It's a battle of the brakes. Does he have the balls? And he has gone back in behind. So that is interesting that he is not
many times.
fantastic. But Emily has the inside to the next corner, and Maloney's job is to try and outbrake. Oh, she's gone back to the racing line, and Maloney's dived through.
And he's got it.
He's
Surely
got
he's
it.
got
He'll
it.
have the better
No,
drive. No,
Emily gets a better-
Emily's got it side by side. She's got the inside to the next corner, but Maloney has the better drive. No, not enough. He can't have had new tyres. I don't. Oh, ducks to the inside. What a move! What a move! Hasn't made the job done though. Emily still has the position.
I cannot believe that. I cannot believe that he had. Oh, as Emery is lost. Oh, she is all over the place, but she's managed to hold it
The
together.
little engine that caught it.
Oh my God, she's rolled.
Oh my God!
Emery has rolled her car. She is on her roof. She is in the. Oh
And
my
that's a
goodness,
wing
she's-
gone. That's a wing gone.
that-
3 laps remaining, and we're going to go back. We're going to go on board with her to see how that happened because she was holding on like no one else possibly could have. Just hit the
Stenberg
curb.
comes around the corner and just finds his former teammate or former battling partner.
still
with
teammate.
Still teammate. Former battling partner with no rear wing.
Lewis Wedding
going
could be
into
on
the
for
head.
second here
He
because
very well could be.
Emily, between them they have a full car. Emily doesn't have a rear wing and Kurt Stenberg doesn't have a bonnet, but I'm sure between them they can muster up enough parts for one working V8 supercar, and Lewis Wedding can't believe what he's looking at. And these two, they can't be separated by more than a few inches, and it was just the merest of laps where they weren't apart on track after Stenberg fell out of turn 1. And Emily,
She's surely going to pit.
well,
Surely.
no, 3 laps. You got to go. You got to. I mean, you got to try and do it. You're probably going to be horrendously unstable under brakes, and the train forming up
She
behind.
is. Oh my goodness! I can't believe this. This is.
Lewis Wedding with a drive-through penalty.
penalty.
Oh, so that has absolutely put paid to his charge towards second place. So with 3 laps to go, I don't know. He might actually be able to just bring it home, and that'll be a time penalty. He'll only go back as far as 6th there because Cameron is over a minute behind. And
Oh, Kurt nearly loses it behind Emery. Is Emery going to be able to hang on to this with no real? I can't believe this.
she's gapping them. She's gapping them. Look at that.
Kurt is, if anything, driving more unstably than Emery is, and he has a rear wing, although he is missing a bonnet. That was a noise. I'm just cutting across. I am hearing that apparently a sneaky word from Jake Maloney's pit crew is that they accidentally put old tyres on the front of the car when he pit stopped. So he does not have fresh tyres on the front of his car, according to our sources. Emery's backing it in.
You heard it here first. Your witness.
My witness indeed. Jake Maloney is sliding all over the place coming out of the hairpin, so that would definitely gel with the information that we've received. Emery's having to brake so much earlier than other cars going into all of the corners, but she's I just can't believe this, Stairs.
Okay, let's just do a stock. Oh! Did someone go off? Yes! Philip Boak went off, and I was about to make mention of that because he was leading the Super 2 race and has gone off out of the hairpin and allowed his teammate Brenton Foley through back into the lead of the Super 2 race. Incidentally, Lewis Wedding's not going to lose any positions with that drive-through penalty because those two cars are in a different class to him. And, well, what a bizarre race.
What a race, Des. I don't know. I'm not sure how I'm going to... At the end of the commentary, when you asked me to sum up the night, I don't think I have words. There are not words enough in the English language to describe what we have seen here tonight.
Well, Gita's suggesting that maybe it's graphical, the lack of rear wing for Emily, because, and I quote, that thing should be moving around like it's on ice. Sir, are you watching the same pictures that I am? Because it looks like it's driving around on ice to me.
Yeah, it is not handling as if it's a car that has a rear wing. Although that could just be incredibly worn tyres, I suppose. But it seems to be jittering under brakes and just and she's braking so much earlier. You wouldn't have to be braking that early if you had a rear wing.
Yeah,
Kurt
it's broke. It's broke as a banker in 2008. It is unbelievably broken, that car, and somehow they're not. I mean, I guess with Maloney doing his part in his own downfall by not changing the front tyres, he's only 10 seconds up the road from them. These guys are catching him.
So if he has an accident, then Emery could easily win the race.
Lewis Wedding has lost the position to Brenton Foley, so Brenton Foley moves up into 4th outright, which is first in class. He was already in first in class, and Lewis Wedding now losing the position to Philip Boak as well, and Emily controlling the car and someone's in the pits. It's Lewis Wedding serving his drive-through penalty. So there wasn't enough laps left.
If I didn't know better, I was going to say that Emery Scandi flicked that into the chicane to get it turned in, because that was my heart is having palpitations, Stairs.
Well, the man out in front is all by himself with a car that obviously doesn't want to turn, but he's on the final lap. It's lap 33. We're nearly an hour in, and he holds an advantage of a little under 10 seconds now. Emily, without a rear wing, is catching him on the previous time around. Now, these guys are going 4 laps slower than they were earlier in the race. The trouble is there's no one to capitalise. Oh, and we got a Red Bull off, and it's Brenton Foley on the final lap. He's decided that he wants to join the Emily club and say, I don't want a rear wing either. If she can't do it, if she can do it, so can I. But it means that Philip Boak is now in the lead of the Super 2 race. And that'll be the first race that Brenton Foley has lost in the Super 2 race, undefeated until tonight.
Oh, Emily's gone deep at the hairpin, but so has Kurt. He can't capitalise. She's going to get the run. She's going to have second position unless she manages to lose it into the final chicane. I thought that she'd lost it all there on the hairpin on the last lap, but she managed to pull it up, and Kurt just went deep as well.
And Jake Maloney's coming around the final corner now and absolutely wiggling the arse out of the final corner. Oh, goodness, he's doing that to celebrate, but I don't know if it's... I don't know if my heart can handle it. Emily hangs on to second place. She finishes second from 11th in her very first race in Automobilista Australia. Kurt Stenberg third without a bonnet. Emily without a rear wing. And Philip Boak wins the Super 2 race after his excellent win last week in the Brooke Harvey Invitational. And Brenton Foley would have been disappointed with that. He finishes without a rear wing too. And Lewis Wedding finishes 6th but 4th in class to get some valuable points. And a full minute, 50 seconds behind is Cameron with a car that looks to be fully functional in all its aspects, and coming out of the hairpin with a sizable gap over Brock Harvey, who's still driving through Leigh Pingle now, and Big Dog in 9th place. And Luke Joyner a lap down is he's finished because he's a lap down, so he's doing some donuts in celebration, and with half the field not finishing, half the field did finish.
What an eloquent way of putting it. Good Lord, Stairs. I legitimately, my heart, I couldn't even find words throughout that those last few laps. I was wordless, you could say.
Yes, speechless is the word I think you might have been looking for.
No, wordless. I could say things, they just weren't words.
There you go. Well, Jake Maloney becomes our our 7th different winner from 8 races in this series. So what a remarkably topsy-turvy series we've had so far. And that 4th place finish for Lewis Wedding extends his advantage over Brenton Hobson in the championship, who was one of the early DNFers in the race.
I just can't believe that Lewis came out like ahead in all of that.
Yes, well, 4th. That's what he ended up with in class at Darwin. He's 6th on track, so I mean, unfortunate for him, that penalty. And I mean, well, presumably there will be an investigation for his incident with Brock Harvey. But even if they hand him a 30-second penalty, he was, you know, he was 46 seconds ahead of the nearest guy behind him. So it was spread out, but somehow that battle for second just raged on and on and on, and we didn't expect it to become that close.
No, and when Emery flipped it and crashed into that Hilux or whatever it was, I believe it was a Mitsubishi actually. I was, oh, there goes that battle. I'm gonna have anything to watch for the last 3 laps. But I don't know how she held that thing together with no rear wing, but incredible driving on her first outing. And just looking at her car in the pits, it looks like they've stuck a rear wing on, and it almost looks wrong. All I can see is that rear wingless. Is that a Falcon? No, Commie. Of course, it's a Commie.
It's a Commodore, of course.
Of course.
Well, we're seeing. Well, hopefully, Stenny and Emily and all of the people involved can join us up in the commentary box for some interviews shortly. Because that was a hell of a battle, and we'd love to see how they saw it from their perspective. But in the meantime, we've got Brock Harvey there, who in the end a distant race for you. Brock Harvey, are you with us?
Yeah, mate. How you doing?
Very well. That was one hell of a race. It all sort of came undone early on in the race for you. You got a bit of steering damage by the looks of it from that incident with Cameron Costa and Lewis Wedding.
Cut a tyre, that one. So got into the braking zone for the Wall of Champions, and there was no way I was making it, so I went straight in the pits. And we put a new front left on the car, and yeah, from there it's just doing my best. I couldn't get a setup around here. I didn't do a lot of practice for this week and just couldn't get a setup that felt right. So I really didn't feel like I had the car under me at all race or all through qualifying.
Yeah, well, in the end, it was a race where there was a lot on offer for those who finished, so at least you made it to the end of the race.
That was kind of the strategy. I let a few people pass because I didn't want to race them for fear of either putting myself or getting put into the wall. I would have let Lewis through. I kind of braked pretty late, and I didn't think he'd be going in there, and it was only a really light tap, but unfortunately it just pushed me into Cameron, and I feel bad for Cameron because he was pretty innocent in that one. And got spun around. So yeah, hopefully it was good for him to come in front. So it was good.
There you go. Well, that's my reaction to that race. It didn't have a single dull moment for the entirety of it.
Absolutely, and we've got my favourite, Lewis Wedding here with probably a surprising result considering how his race was going for the majority of it. So, Lewis, how you feeling, matey?
I don't know how to feel. I didn't really have the fastest speed. I punted everybody in front of me at the hairpin, and I still somehow managed to finish in the top 6, top 10. So not bad, I guess.
There you go. And you got track limit violations towards the end of the race. So it's sort of a strange one, that, because you lost the positions to Foley and Boak, but you weren't fighting them for points anyway. So the gap behind meant that it didn't really cost you anything from a points point of view.
Well, that's good to know. I don't exactly know how the points in the supercars works with different classes, so that's good to know in that case. But just as a racing point of view, it's just a little bit frustrating to have to serve it. Obviously, there was 1 or 2 off tracks I got where I wasn't, trying to curb strike or use too much curb. I just outbroke myself in one of the chicanes, and then that last time I just followed Stenny and Em through the chicane. I turned in the same time they did, and they took a lot of first curb. I don't know if they got strikes as well, but I did, and that was all she wrote.
There you go. And speaking of Emily and Stenny, Well, but between you, you had one workable car of the at the end of the race. But tell us about that battle. It was absolutely scintillating from start to finish.
You want to go first?
Do you?
No, you go first.
Yeah,
fun.
pretty fun. Yeah, I don't know. We were just battling there side by side around the whole track, and then Jake decided to come out of the pits and join us.
Yeah, well, I don't know if that was intentional, but we'll come to Jake. Emily, from what we heard, you were downloading the game mere moments before the qualifying session started, so fair to boo from your point of view, starting in 11th and coming through to finish second without a rear wing.
Yeah, I didn't think you could grip flip the car off a curb, but it turns out you can.
So it wasn't. Someone was suggesting it was graphical that you did have so you did not have a rear wing.
I don't. Stenny said I didn't, and it felt like I had no rear wing. Like, especially in the braking zone, it was just nothing on the rear. It would just want to jump sideways.
It certainly looked like it was a bit of a handful, but to be fair, it looked like a handful before that happened.
Yeah, I don't know, it was interesting. I was kind of just figuring it out as I drove. I already got a couple laps of practice, so it was a learning experience, but it was pretty fun.
Well, certainly daunting for everyone else in this championship if that's what you can do with no practice and starting from 11th.
Yeah, maybe. We'll have to see. It was really nice. Like, everyone, I don't know, fought really hard for position, but left room, and it felt really good. So hopefully I can come back and race more.
Well, glad to hear that from our point of view. It's good to have people come in and have that first impression. And Jake, you've joined us once before in the Super Series and won a couple of races, but you've come back for this Supercars race, and it looked like you had it all your own way up until that second pit stop.
Yeah, it was all looking pretty good up until that point. But yeah, I just wore out the front tyres a bit and had to chuck some hards on the front to give it bit more grip. Unfortunately, I came out behind them.
So
but we were able to deal with that.
Did you change the tyres in your first pit stop, or had they already worn out by that stage?
I changed them in the first stop, but thought I'd give them a fresh set for the end, run to the flag.
Fair enough. Well, in the end, it was a comfortable 10-second advantage, but you had a lot more pace than that in the race itself.
Yeah, the Preston High Commodore was really good. All the boys back at the shop did a great job.
Well, our regards to them, and we look forward to. Well, thank you for joining us, everyone who has come into the interviews. What an incredible result we've seen. We thought at the beginning of the night we'd be talking about Brenton Hobson, but that was the story that ended first. Madbird. And I asked you to make your predictions, and your prediction was that it would be unpredictable, and I don't think you've been more right on anything else that you've said tonight.
I don't think I've been more right in my entire life. I don't think I could have seen second place being a car with no rear wing and third place being a car with no bonnet. And for those two cars to have swapped positions about 80 times in the course of the previous 33 laps. So I'm rather happy with that call, really. I think we did quite well, Stairs, and that was a absolutely fantastic race, and I'm still jittering just sitting here thinking about it.
There we go. We can't wait for the next round of the Supercars series in AMS Oz, which incidentally is in a couple of weeks' time from Queensland Raceway, so back to the Aussie circuits for that one. In the meantime, on Sunday we have the GT3 finale from Laguna Seca on Sunday the 15th of July, followed the day after by TCC Round 3, Curitiba Long, that circuit, and we very much look forward to that one. In the meantime, we're gonna go off the air, catch our breath, and we'll do it all again. Thanks for watching.
Have a good